All right, imagine this for a moment. Imagine. What would happen to your church if tomorrow every single leader that you have in place decided to step down? Just for a moment, think. I know it's kind of a tragic thing to think about. What if tomorrow every single leader that you have in place right now decided to step down? What would happen to your church? I wonder who's trained and equipped to take over. I wonder, is there anybody actively ready to step into a leadership role? If you're a senior pastor in here, I want to make it more specific. What would happen if tomorrow you decided to step down? What would happen to your church? Who's trained? Who's equipped? Who's ready to take over? Who's ready to take the reins and take the ministry forward? The truth is, for so many of us, our churches are built on one or maybe just a few key leaders. And when those leaders leave, retire, burn out, the ministry stalls or falls apart. That's tragic. But it doesn't have to be that way for us. The key is we have to be intentional about developing new leaders. New leaders. There's a Barna research that says 85% of pastors feel unprepared to develop leaders. Same research says that 1 in 4 churches admit that they have no leadership pipeline in place. Basically what that means is there's a whole lot of churches that have no clue what they're going to do. They have no strategy for developing new leaders. And listen, if we aren't building up new leaders, then our churches are running on borrowed time. Developing leaders is important. Raising up new leaders is important. Training leaders is important. When we do this, when we raise up new leaders, when we train new leaders, we expand our reach. We expand our impact. We can reach more people, reach more places. We need to be intentional about developing leaders. But the answer is not, let's just sit around and wait for a fully developed leader to walk into our church. The answer is not, let me pay somebody from outside to come in and be a part of our leadership team. Lead our worship team or lead our small groups. The answer is to actively and intentionally develop leaders from within our churches. Listen, if we want our churches to carry on to future generations, if we want to see the mission and vision continue long after we're gone, then we have to be intentional about developing new leaders. So the question is, how do we do that? Well, I would say that the first step is we need to actually create a clear pathway. Some people would call this a leadership pipeline, a system, a process by which we could take a person who's a new believer and take them and grow them into a church planting pastor. That's still the goal, right? To plant churches? Church planting is at the core of our mission in Praise Chapel. But if we're going to be honest, very few of us would say that we have an active process or system or plan to train up people from new believers to becoming church planting pastors. Listen, I've talked to pastors who've been sent out with virtually no training. Some of us are in this room, right? I've talked to pastors who've been sent out that no one's ever taught them how to preach. No one's ever taught them how to put together a sermon. I've talked to pastors who've been sent out that they have no idea what to do for kids class. I've talked to pastors who've been sent out that have no idea how to manage donation records or start a nonprofit. I've talked to pastors who've been sent out that have no idea how to plug in a speaker. It might seem like simple things, but this is church planting. You got to know how to do all these things. But we send people out with very little training, and I want to say this, we could do better. Come on, we could do better, but we have to understand that developing leaders is more than just giving them a platform. It's more than just releasing them into ministry. We have to train, we have to equip. We want them to be effective in their current role, but also effective in their future role. So I want to show you guys an example of what a clear pathway, a clear leadership pipeline might look like in the context of church. And this is a system that we created called Level Up. And essentially, it takes people through 4 levels. And the first level is this, is you learn how to lead yourself well. That's kind of hard to read, but I'll read it for you. The first level is you learn to lead yourself well. Once you learn how to lead yourself well, then you learn how to lead others well. Once you can lead others well, then you learn how to lead leaders well. When you can lead leaders well, then you learn how to lead churches well. And at each level, there's leadership training, there's ministry training, and biblical training. I'll run it down for you real quick. So level 1, we're learning how to lead ourselves well. So for leadership training, we're learning time management, personal growth, financial literacy, character. For biblical training, we're learning Christian living, spiritual gifts. For ministry training, we're learning how to evangelize, how to study the Bible. And then we grow into level 2, learning how to lead others well. For leadership training, we're learning leadership essentials, communication, teamwork, conflict resolution. Biblical training, we're learning the overview of the Bible, basic doctrine. For ministry training, we're learning how to make disciples and lead small groups. Then we grow into level 3, learning how to lead leaders well. And for leadership training, we're learning how to develop new leaders, how to mentor. We're learning decision making and vision. For biblical training, we're learning systematic theology and Christian ethics. For ministry training, we're learning how to preach, we're learning biblical counseling. Then we grow into level 4, leading churches well. We're in leadership training, we're learning business administration, fundraising, branding, change management. And then in biblical training, learning apologetics, church history, ministry training, we're learning kids and youth ministry and worship. And listen, I realize that there's so many in this room that have never received training like this. I get it. But we don't have to continue that pattern. Let's do for our people what we wish somebody would have done for us. Let's give them a better start than we got. So how can we do this? How can we offer this kind of stuff? Well, I think you could post videos online for your leaders to watch at their own time, like YouTube. You can have a YouTube channel for your leaders to learn these kinds of things. You could host online classes on Zoom. You can offer classes before or after your services. You can provide training at monthly leadership meetings. Some of you already have leadership meetings in place. You can have a little time slot, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, where you do some training. You can have these classes on midweek. There's lots of ways that you can do this. But at the end of the day, here's what I want you to know, is you're not alone. You're not alone in this. We're here to help you. And we created this ministry called Expand. And Expand exists to help you with these kinds of things, to help you develop leaders, to help you be more effective in the ministry, to help you reach more people, to help you be all that God's called you to be, to help you expand the kingdom of God. And so we offer seminars and workshops and classes and all this stuff. So we can come to your area or come to your church and offer classes, and we could teach, leadership and communication and apologetics. We could teach all these things, or better yet, we could teach your leaders who could teach your people. Right? We could do master classes on preaching, evangelism, small groups, worship, songwriting, all this stuff that you saw up there. We can also be available for consultation. Maybe you want to just reach out and talk through creating your own system. You don't have to do that system. Well, what fits in your context? And maybe you want to just bounce some ideas off, and we can work with you on creating a system that fits you and fits your context. Last thing I'll mention about us is that we have a YouTube channel that you can reach at www.expand.church. But here's what I want to say. We care, and we're here to help. And all this that we do, we offer for free. There's no charge. Why? Because we believe in Praise Chapel. We believe in the work that each of you guys are doing. And we want to help you. We want to help you be all that God's called you to be. We want to help you expand.